There comes a moment, if you're honest, when you realize the game you've mastered is no longer worth playing. Now, let's say you've been climbing the corporate ladder for 15, 20, even 30 years. You've reached a stage like director or VP, or you're a newly minted executive. And you've got what so many other people envy and what they told you you should want. You've got the title, the LinkedIn profile, the compensation package. But inside, you know you've outgrown all this. It served your past, it doesn't serve your future. And what you're facing isn't burnout, it's more than that. It's structural. And it's the realization that your future isn't about climbing someone else's ladder or building their dream. That had its time and place. Your future is about becoming a founder of a business, yes, and of your own life. We're not talking about side hustling or chasing passive income or replicating your corporate job and calling that success, but being a real founder in every sense so that you can bring your unique talents to the world under a business of your own design and graduate corporate life the way that you know you should. Now, here's the truth. You're sitting on gold. Think of this as your career capital. All that intuition, judgment, skill, relationship, network, all of it that you've accumulated over all these years. It's unique, it's valuable. But right now, it's only being deployed within a corporate system. They have your gold. And they're only taking a little bit of it. They're taking the right pieces to extract it for their use. And when they're done with it, they're done with it. The reality is it's on you to deploy this gold, to take this career capital and bring it to the world. Because right now, when you leave it in this system alone, it is undeployed. And the challenge with this is there is a shelf life where it is good, where it can actually get out to the world and actually make a difference and start compounding in your favor. We need to be able to extract all of that career capital, package it, deliver it as a founder so that you've got true impact and ownership in your own business. And then you've got a path legitimately beyond corporate life. And listen, if you don't start moving on that in the next 12 to 24 months, that window closes. We need to stay on top of this right now. This is what we call corporate graduation. And if you're ready, I'll show you exactly how it works. Now, before we go any further, let me clarify one important point. And it's that corporate graduation doesn't mean you have to leave your job. You can have the job, not have the job, but you want the choice to be yours. We want to go from a state of corporate dependence, which we do not want, to a state where corporate becomes optional. So whether we have it or not, we're okay. We're good. We're still building our founder future. So essentially, we go from a state of feeling overwhelmed, having no time, always being in reactive mode, just purely an employee, to instead moving to a state where you feel like you're in control. You are time rich, you're proactive, you're the designer of your days. Now, bear with me on how we get there, but that's what we want to get to a state where corporate becomes optional, because needing it and choosing it are two very different things. And if you're like the people I work with, you can start to see that corporate can actually be an enjoyable tool, and you can just release it whenever you want to. You just want to make sure that you get the say. So when corporate does become optional, some really interesting things happen for you. You see things like your corporate work week being cut by 50% or more. In fact, check out this clip about one of my clients. And what would you say right now your average work week is in number of hours at corporate?
I probably work 10 hours a week. Literally. Yeah, probably 10 hours a week.
Mic has been dropped. Yeah, that says a lot right there. When you have this sort of control and corporate is optional, you've got a stellar reputation, your health and family get better because you feel like you're in control of everything going on in your life. And then you're starting to build out that founder business so that you can eventually get to the point, should it be the right move for you, where you circle that date on your calendar and you say peace out to corporate. Or if they say it for you, guess what? You're okay no matter what. And that's the point. In building this founder future, you make corporate optional. And you want that for yourself. You don't want to be dependent anymore. The point is, you choose, not them. You choose, not them. Now, just to clarify exactly who we're talking to, again, we're looking at people at the director, VP, executive level, lots of career capital at 15 to 30 years in corporate life. So much is stacked. They've got so much gold locked up in that vault. They have families, kids in college, tuition, multiple mortgages, all the life responsibilities, very complex lives. We're not talking to anyone who's like a 25-year-old digital nomad just getting started and has really no responsibilities. We're talking to people who are in one of three stages at this moment. They are firmly in corporate right now. maxed out. They've got a lot going on, 60 plus hours sort of thing. And they know they need to build a new path beyond it. They need to graduate. Maybe secondarily, they are recently out of corporate due to a layoff, severance situation, reduction in force. Maybe they didn't choose that, obviously. Or someone who's just started their business. Excuse the handwriting. And that's someone who's struggling to get liftoff, to get the traction. It's not going as well as they ever imagined it would. But the common background for all these people is this: corporate is all they know. It's their entire background. Okay. It's their entire past for decades at this point. So it's kind of part of you. It's part of your programming, the way you think about risk. It's all embedded in that. And we need to release from that in order to effectively graduate corporate. And that's the problem. If corporate is all you've ever known, you can't expect to just jump and become a founder. We need to learn to think, move, and act as that new person. Otherwise, corporate programming takes over and we stay small and we let things happen to us. We do this smartly, methodically. That's why I call it a graduation, not a leap. Let me share 3 quick stories with you about people who went through corporate graduation. First is Lance. He spent 23 years in financial services in the sales world, all the way up to senior vice president. Was absolutely crushing it, hitting his quotas, his numbers, awards, accolades. He had the fancy cars, the polished dinners, being taken out with clients. It was wonderful, except it started ripping him apart inside, shredding him, realizing that there was more to life than this and that he had to decouple from it because it was taking things over from his wife and his kids and the person he knew was capable of being. He was losing himself in that world. So we helped him do a few things. First is compress that workday down to something 50% way more tolerable, way more under control, really making sure that the bookends of his day were truly his, owning that space for his health, for his family, and for building his founder future. As he was building that resilience, that perspective, when the layoff notice came for his broader organization, he was ready. He had the perspective, the momentum, the path into his new business, even sent a really powerful note to his CEO on the way out, making sure that everyone knew how empowered he was, ready to go into that next chapter. Lance has already written a book. He's on stages as a keynote speaker, high performance coach, really powerful force out there in the world right now. Or take Chris. He built a Wall Street pedigree in New York, had a prestigious MBA, powerful certifications and credentials, an amazing reputation within the companies as an impact investor. And yet, it was ripping him apart from the inside, feeling controlled, feeling like he was in a situation he had outgrown. So we had to do the unwinding to really get him to a state where he could control that job, compress it into a tight box to the point where he could look at it and be like, I've got you. You can't control me. From there, working on his founder future, anchored into what he was gifted at, got to the point of creating his own business category, trademarked it, clients started rolling in, built a new presence, a new version of himself. And he said, it's time for me to leave this corporate gig. It's not for me anymore. He circled his resignation date, held to it, cleared some bonus milestones, and left. But remained open to the fact that stability in a corporate job could be good. So guess what? He positioned himself through all this work where this amazing company, just a handful of people at it, came his way and said, we need you at the top of our business. So he's working on his terms, fully remote, doing work he loves while building his founder business in the path going forward. And he's there for himself, his family, and his clients in powerful new ways. And he's learning to graduate corporate on his own terms. He's not being told what it looks like. He's dictating that future as the founder through and through, inside and outside of corporate. Or take Rick, a 30-year veteran in the marketing space, working across startups and large organizations, just sitting on this gold, this career capital that was hardly being used within these organizations. So when the layoff hit, he didn't panic. He was starting to believe in himself as a founder, but we had to do the foundational work. We had to help him decouple from scarcity, get himself in order, mind, body, spiritually, all of it, so that he could see himself as a founder to build this new path. Fast forward to where we are now, many months beyond corporate life. He's thriving. He's partnered with multiple go-to-market partners, private equity firms. He's got people bringing deals to him. He's making sure he's bringing his intellectual capital out through software and other forms, building a portfolio of businesses with Rick's expertise and perspective guiding the whole thing. His brand, his authority out there in the world. He's on stages, he's on podcasts. In doing so, opportunities are flowing to him. He's a founder through and through with a whole portfolio going into the future. And he's not doing it alone, but he had to do that foundational work on himself to make sure that all of this was possible. And he knows corporate is not a part of his future anymore. He's graduated that fully. So those are three foundational stories looking at how graduation can happen. We can go through a layoff, we can stay in corporate, we can work through partners and build a series of businesses, a whole portfolio. There's a range of ways this can happen, but understand at the core, there were commonalities that Lance, Chris, and Rick, and all of the over 170 people that have done this have had to experience. We can't jump straight to just building a business. We need to go through the full decoupling, the building of the self, so that we can actually build something unique, powerful, and take the bold actions necessary to make this happen. Because guess what? This is hard. This is arguably the hardest work you will ever do. At the same time, possibly the most rewarding. Remember, they didn't escape. They graduated, and so can you. Now, before we go any further, just a little bit about me, Matt Doan, so you understand where I'm coming from with all of this. I spent 15 years in management consulting out of the gate in my career, working at places as demanding as Boston Consulting Group, traveling the world, working for very prestigious clients, all the way up to big board of director type situations. On paper, I was crushing it. I had the compensation, the title, wife, 3 kids, all the things, American dream coming to life. Inside though, while I was playing that game, I was slowly dying. It happened gradually and then suddenly. Ended up divorced, ended up not able to see my kids very much, and I was just a shell of myself. I was a wreck living on anxiety medications just to make it through the day. Now, on the other side of all that destruction, 2 big things needed to change in my life. Number 1, I needed to take control of corporate. I needed to compress it into a tight box. I needed to detach from it, to figure out how to be me again, to find myself, to be a good dad, to be healthy again, to get off those meds that were just a crutch for me. So I was able to do that. I'll show you pieces later today on how we made that happen. Number 2, I needed to pay attention to this entrepreneurial flame that was inside of me. Something that said, you're meant to be a founder. You're meant to build a path of your own. Even if I had no clue how, and I've never even met anyone who had done that before, I felt called to it. So about 10 years ago, I invested $10,000 into an entrepreneurial mastermind. I would fly up to Toronto every single quarter. This was my smiling face right before joining my first mastermind. I was nervous as all hell. And this is me being put in a room with the world's foremost entrepreneurial coach, Dan Sullivan. He's been doing this for about 50 years at this point, teaching the most game-changing founders and entrepreneurs out there in the world. I was the only corporate person in that entire room. Every other person had 1, 2, even 3 businesses. You want to talk about a fish out of water? That was me. But the benefit was that being in that room forced me to think different, to want different, to behave differently, to compress corporate, to deprioritize it. I started seeing corporate as my side thing, while my founder future, what I was going to build, was my main thing. You see the shift there, very vital. Fast forward over all these years, this has become a norm in my life, putting myself in rooms that I don't belong to level up, to be pulled upward, to be challenged. So that you understand the level of focus and dedication I've had over all these years, I've invested over $250,000 in myself to be in programs, mastermind, rooms, destination events, to be around people that I know would challenge me and pull me to the next level. That's been absolutely key to unlock from my old life and to build the new one. It also rebuilt me. A new version of me, someone that actually feels in control, excited. I love Mondays. Could never say that before. My family feels it, all 4 of my kids. I'm remarried with my soulmate. Everything got better in my life by putting myself on this path, saying, this old life is not for me anymore. I need to wind it down. I need to graduate it, and I needed to build the new one. Fast forward to today, I went through all those programs, hundreds of books, experiments on myself, pushing myself, working with one-on-one clients to the point where now we've built an entire program on how to do this full thing, and we call it corporate graduation. How do you wind down the old life safely, smartly, and decisively while building up the new path where you become a founder, a path of your own design, a business that lights you up? And now it's become my life's work, taking this corporate graduation system and bringing it to the people that absolutely need it in their life. Here's the truth no one tells you. You've been fed bad medicine your entire life. Climb the ladder, earn those credentials, flash the logos, check email while you're at Disney World with your family. Subtly, what we're learning over all these years is three things. One, be impressive always. Be responsive. Can't let something go by without our engagement. Number three, you must be irreplaceable so that you can't lose your step, you can't lose your edge. Especially in the American dream culture, this is a situation where we can't let go, we can't be at peace, we're always in. We say we're there for our family, we're not, we're always there for work. We have to create a separation on this. Now, what this ultimately means is three big things are true. Your career capital is undeployed because you're all in on corporate systems. They're extracting the pieces they need from you. So your gold that you've been building over all these decades remains undeployed and it will decay. Secondly, AI is commoditizing execution faster than we can even blink right now. And if we're blind to it, that window for our ability to deploy our career capital will close. We need to act on this. Your career capital is the only moat you have left. And it's gold. You're sitting on it right now. Your reputation, your intuition, your skill set, your perspective, all of it is gold. But corporate systems don't want that. It's on you to deploy it. And if you don't do it within the next 12 to 24 months, that window will close. Look around you right now. You see other people moving down this path. That's why you're dialed into this message right now with me. Your choice is very simple. You deploy the career capital intentionally, or you're stuck optimizing other people's quarterly results until they no longer want you. Now, when people feel stuck, they usually try one of three escape hatches. First, they might try real estate, or they might try to acquire a boring business like an electrician company or a car wash or a laundromat. The focus here is passive income. But passive income is slow, it's external, you're dependent on forces outside of your control, and guess what? It is not passive. Now, third piece people try is instead of passive, they would focus on active income, which is a good upgrade, but they focus on just replicating their corporate job. The very job and path that they no longer want to be a part of, they believe that if they repackage it under their own business and they're the one driving it, calling the shots, that it will be better. Truth is though, there's no resources, support system, and you're wearing all the hats and it gets very crazy and you're actually not creating a new future at all. You're just replicating your corporate past. Bottom line here, we're still at a state where we are corporate dependent. We can't have that. We need to break the dependence and we need to move to that state where corporate becomes optional. That is the focus. That's what must happen in a corporate graduation. Can I be honest with you? There's another trap beyond the external one. It's the person staring at you in the mirror. It's the decades of programming, conditioning, belief systems, the people telling you over the years what you should be doing. It's the grip that corporate has over you emotionally, mentally. It's the thoughts you have nights and weekends that you can't let go of it. It's the belief that becoming a founder isn't for you. These sorts of thoughts keep us crippled, and we have this corporate identity that keeps us shackled. Here's the truth. I've seen it time and again. If you try to go straight from corporate to building a business and becoming an entrepreneur, the failure rate is like 95% because you haven't done the inner work of reinventing yourself, the person capable and bold enough to make very powerful decisions that's going to create this new future, to unlock from corporate, wind it down, and build this new path. It won't happen without that new programming. We need to make sure that your identity gets extreme focus in this transformation. It's the unsung part of corporate graduation of reinventing yourself first and foremost, because the greatest strategies and tactics in the world won't work if the operator's not ready to use them. Our mission is simple: to help high capacity directors, VPs, and executives step beyond a path they've outgrown, to become a founder, to choose the path with precision, focus, tenacity, to make sure that they carve their future with a business and life of their own design. Graduating isn't about escape or hustle or saying screw the 9 to 5. It's a thoughtful thank you to that past, but I'm winding it down and I am decisively building up this new future. We build leverage, autonomy, and ownership in this new path. We don't risk blowing up your life or putting your family at risk. We make sure we do it with precision, structure, community, and accountability to make sure that you get the right things happening in the right sequence. Let me be clear. You cannot do this alone. I've not seen it. I couldn't do it alone. The hundreds of clients I've worked with aren't able to do it alone. It's too monstrous of a transformation. And that's the key word, transformation. This is not a game of finding all the information, of reading the books, asking ChatGPT, or scouring another YouTube video, or endlessly liking someone else's LinkedIn post. No, it's about creating the environment, the conditions, putting yourself in those situations with skin in the game so that you take the hard actions you'd rather not take in a timely fashion. Because as we said, the window is closing. You need to deploy your career capital. If we don't do it, there are serious consequences. So the question is, how do you put yourself in the conditions with structure, community, and accountability so that this happens now, not at some future date, optionally into the future, but it starts happening right now. All right, I'm going to show you how this actually works in practice. This is the corporate graduation blueprint, and when I break it down visually, you'll see how it unfolds. So the overall goal in corporate graduation is to go from corporate to founder in 1 year. 1 year is the focus. That's a lot of work to unfold. Now, when you ask what that means, where are we at the end of that? Three things are true. More money, more meaning, and more freedom. And we have to define what each of those actually means for each person, but those are the categories that get better for someone. Now, when I bring this forward to people, I usually get one of three objections about why this is really hard for them. Number one, I hear, Matt, I have no time. Understandable when you've got all the things going on between corporate and personal life and all the obligations. Secondly, I hear, this isn't possible for me, not possible for me in my circumstances. You don't know me, my upbringing, my background. It doesn't map to becoming a founder. Again, understandable. Number three then is simply, Matt, I don't know how. Arguably didn't know how to ride a bike beforehand either, but here we are learning how to ride the bike. Now, when you think about those three things, there are three big fixes we solve for. Number one, if you don't have time, first thing we have to solve for is create space. We must create space in your life. That's time, energy, and attention. Number two, if it's not possible, we have to work on you. Build yourself, a new version of you. And number three, if you don't know how, simply said, you need to learn the right system that helps you become a founder from zero, having no background or experience in this whatsoever. Now, when we look at each of these three things, let's break it down a bit further. When we say space, we need to first create time freedom in your life, real space on calendar and in your days. Secondly, we need to solve for having emotional peace so that you feel calm, in control, that you can take bold, decisive action. Because if you're under stress, that's not going to work very well. We can't take any bold new path, build a new business that way. And thirdly, we need to make sure that we have what we call energized presence so that everyone in your life that deserves the best, whether it's your employer, certainly your family, yourself, the clients you might serve one day, they've got an energized version of you that's locked in. We need that. First is space. Secondly, then, when we focus on self, we need to first recode beliefs. We need to be able to take the old beliefs out that don't serve us and install new ones. Secondly, we need to have a magnetic identity. We build this version of you that is undeniably attractive in the ideas you bring to the world, because that's what a founder is someone that has a new vision of a future that needs to exist for people, and it's magnetic. It's in there. We just need to pull it out. And thirdly, we need to establish that through a visible voice so that people recognize your thoughts, your opinions, beliefs, and see you as the leader of a new future, of a movement even, that will be very valuable to that specific group of people that is waiting for their new leader to show up. And then thirdly, when we get to the system piece, this is about building a business that's uniquely yours, that's a fit for you and serves the people you deeply care about. So first we have to create that one-of-one business so that you create something that looks unlike anything else. Because the moment you copy other people's models is the moment that you step into a sea of competition, a red ocean, and you are fighting to be better, faster, or cheaper than all the other players. And trust me, you do not want to jump into that state. It's really hard, it's commoditized, and you can't really shine in that state. Number two, then, we have to develop what we call a growth engine, which is how do you repeatably, reliably get demand in place? How do you get sales, revenue, repeatable? How do you get this thing cranking so that you know when you put this input, you create this output? You want to establish that for yourself, a true growth engine, so the business has some viability and you get some ease to it. And then lastly, on the other side of all of this, you consider what we call leverage and scale to make sure that you have an eye to building something far beyond you. This would be when you establish things like over here in your one-of-one business, you would build unique intellectual property. It's your career capital, but just well packaged. With that established, you then ask questions about how do I make it bigger? You do that through leverage and scale. With the core IP, the core frameworks established, you know how to deliver results for people. Then you can ask, well, How might I license this? How might this become a special AI powered software? How might this be something that goes far beyond my ability and my own small team's ability to deliver this? It gets really interesting really quickly beyond that. But that's the whole thing. We need to make sure that we work through space, then self, and then system. That is the sequence. One, then two, then three. The foundations are space and self. You are then able to focus on system, which is the build out of that unique business, that corporate off ramp beyond the life that no longer serves you. And I want to be clear, when we say we do this in 1 year, that is a very fast timeline to completely change the way you work, live, earn, feel, experience every single day. All of that is involved in this transformation. You shouldn't recognize your past self 1 year from now. And that's the point. You have to go through this reinvention of space, self, and system. Space means, how do I reinvent how my days unfold and how people in my life experience me? Self means I look in the mirror, I don't see that same person anymore. This is someone super bold, empowered, decisive, building this future, magnetic. And then thirdly, with the system pieces, I'm going to build a machine that I know needs to exist in this world that does a lot of good, that serves people I care about. It lights me up and it produces for my family in ways that they deserve. That's what we're doing. That's why it takes 1 year minimally. That's very fast to completely change your life. I hope you feel excited by that. Last point on this whole blueprint. No matter where you are right now, firmly in corporate, maybe you're recently out because you chose or they chose for you, or you've been stumbling, starting a business a little bit so far, this sequence holds true no matter what stage you're in. You have to go through the foundations of reworking space, then self, so that you can thoroughly build out the system that's right for you. This sequence is tested over many years, hundreds of clients, myself being the guinea pig. If we jump straight to building a business, the system piece, it will likely fail for all the reasons I've called out here. And if I could just zoom out for a second, this change is far more than just building a business. Everything changes. The financial upside you now create beyond the cap systems of the past, that's an obvious one. But there's this spiritual piece inside of you as someone who feels locked into their purpose, aligned to what they're meant to do, not forcibly existing in someone else's system. This mental clarity of tapping back into using your critical thinking, being the founder of something, there's nothing more activating than carving your own future and working with mentors and coaches and peers on what it takes to bring it to life. You don't experience that in corporate anymore. You're kind of on your own. That lone stallion has just been successful climbing ladder rung after rung from who you are, the health you have in your life, the people in your life, your relationships with family. This tends to all improve too, because as you build yourself up, your vitality, your energy, your excitement for the future, guess what? Everyone you come in contact with benefits from that. So in reinventing yourself through this founder path, it affects everything and everyone in your life. I hope that excites you. I know I needed that change deeply. I needed a reinvention of me. It's so much more than building a business. If you want to learn more about working together in our corporate graduation program, DM me the word deploy on LinkedIn. There'll be a link in this description to my profile so you can message me easily. But when I see that word deploy in all caps, that'll be like our secret little agreement, a head nod, where I know you've jumped through some hoops, you've watched the videos, you've gotten up to speed on what we do so that we can take this seriously. In turn, what I'll do is I'll send you the program document, which goes in depth on corporate graduation, who we help, the outcomes we get, how we get those outcomes, investment, all that sort of thing on what it takes to get started. Then I ask that you take a very thorough read. And if at the end of it, it feels right to you, you'll see the right next action on how to move forward. And if we feel there's a mutual fit, we look forward to welcoming you into our program, into our overall community. If it doesn't feel like a fit, no worries at all. But maybe I'll see you in my inbox soon. Otherwise, take care.